Welcome back to In Pursuit of Truth. This is Sir Patrick Mack, your host. We got a few new Q posts, and I'm going to start right on them. If you don't want to hear me read through them first, and then you want to skip right to my analysis, please click on the timestamp below. Okay, here we go. Post 1319 coming in at 38 minutes past the hour of 12 p.m. Review time. Not seeking re-election. Senate in brackets. Bob Corker, Republican. Jeff Flake, Republican. Orrin Hatch, Republican. No Name, Republican. Departure soon and House in separate brackets. Bill Schuster, Republican. Bob Goodlatte, Republican. Carol Shea Porter, Democrat. Charles W. Dent, Republican. Darrell Issa, Republican. Dave Reichert, Republican. David Trott, Republican. Dennis Ross, Republican. Edward Royce, Republican. Elizabeth Esty, Democrat. Frank LoBiondo, Republican. Gene Green, Democrat. Greg Harper, Republican. Ileana Ross-Lehtinen, Republican. Jeb Hensarling, Republican. Jim Bridenstine, Republican. Joe Barton, Republican. John Delaney, Democrat. John J. Duncan Jr., Republican. Lamar Smith, Republican. Luis V. Gutierrez, Democrat. Lynn Jenkins, Republican. Nikki Songas, Democrat. Paul Ryan, Republican. Nick Nolan, Democrat. Robert Brady, Democrat. Rodney Frelinghuysen, Republican. Ruben J. Kihuen, Democrat. Ryan Costello, Republican. Sam Johnson, Republican. Sandy Levin, Democrat. Ted Poe, Republican. Thomas Rooney, Republican. Trey Gowdy, Republican. Resigned in brackets. Al Franken, Democratic U.S. Senate. Blake Farenthold, Republican U.S. House. Jason Chaffetz, Republican U.S. House. John Conyers Jr., Democrat U.S. House. Louis Slaughter, Democrat U.S. House. Patrick Meehan, Republican U.S. House. Patrick J. Tiberi, Republican U.S. House. Thad Cochran, Republican U.S. Senate. Tim Murphy, Republican U.S. House. Trent Franks, Republican U.S. House. Xavier Becerra, Democrat, Attorney General of California, plus DOJ, plus FBI, plus CEOs. Conspiracy, nothing happening. Goodlatte and Gowdy. Then we have important in brackets. Chairman of the House Committee on the Judiciary. Chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Why is the New York AG resignation important? What past, current, high-profile FBI investigations are within the jurisdiction of New York? Define roadblock. You have more than you know. Do not fall victim to MSM, other fake, false narrative pushes. Stay the course. Where we go one, we go all. Q. 44 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. Post 1320. Today, evil lost control / leverage of Iran. Today, POTUS took control of Iran. Today, with pending sanctions and military actions, POTUS will gain more ammunition / intel against them. Suicide watch. The deal kept Iran quiet. The goal was to keep POTUS in until impeachment / term end. Bigger than people can imagine. Treason is 1/10. Ask yourself, why are they panicking? Ask yourself, why is UK, France, and Germany so involved? Trips to the White House? What are they hiding? Why is Hillary Rodham Clinton in New Zealand? Is New Zealand part of Five Eyes? Why is that relevant? Suicide watch. Q. 46 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. Post 1321. We have a trip update. Post 1322, trip confirmed. Q. And that's 47 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. And then we have on 50 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. Post 1323. We made a mistake on Q research exposing the password. We did not input Q in the beginning, which exposed the password. Error corrected. Safe. Q. And then 53 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. Post 1324. Corrected. We all make mistakes. Busy day. Q. Okay, before I begin on the new Q post, let me take you back to the last post from last night, 1318. And many of you guys said, Patrick, you missed this couple lines. And you know what? You're right. I did. I think I was just, I don't know if I got snowblind or whatever. But anyway, my apologies. We all make mistakes. Let me read it again here. And this was the line that I missed. I read it through the first time, didn't the second time. What does it mean if a grand jury is impaneled? Well, this is an interesting question. Let me take you to this link right here. And this is just a simple question off of criminal.findlaw.com. What's the difference between a grand jury and a trial jury? Although grand juries and trial juries are both made up of average people who were called for jury duty, they serve very different purposes. A grand jury determines whether charges should be brought against a suspect, while trial juries give a decision about whose facts they believe in the trial itself. What is a grand jury? A grand jury helps the prosecutor decide whether to bring criminal charges against a suspect in a crime. Grand juries typically consist of 23 people, and the jurors may have jury duty for months at a time. However, jurors will have to work only a few days out of the month. Grand juries will work closely with the prosecutor, who will explain the law to the jurors. The jurors then have the power to view almost any kind of evidence they wish and to interrogate anyone they like. The procedure for grand jury hearings is very relaxed to allow the jurors as much flexibility as possible. Typically, the parties that appear before the grand jury do not have attorneys, and the rules of evidence allow much more evidence than is allowed at a criminal trial. Let me back up real quick and read that again. Typically, the parties that appear before the grand jury do not have attorneys, and the rules of evidence allow much more evidence than is allowed at a criminal trial. Grand jury proceedings are held in strict confidence to encourage witnesses to speak freely, as well as to protect the suspect if the grand jury decides not to bring charges. A grand jury's decision is not the final step in a case. Prosecutors use grand jury proceedings as test runs for trials and take a grand jury's decision very seriously. However, if the prosecutor strongly disagrees with a grand jury, he or she may ignore the decision. Okay, so let's take that back regarding some of these surrounding sentences here. Why are they slow walking on redacted data? And we were already sort of talking about that. Remember, some of this data is likely being used, and the Q's flat out saying being used by other investigators. Okay, so we've got all these other things happening. If we're assembling a grand jury, that means that likely we're going to decide if there's going to be indictments. Okay, and it's going to be very, very loose. All right, let me take you back to this page again. Grand jury proceedings are held in strict confidence to encourage witnesses to speak freely. Okay, well, that's what they're going to need in these cases, aren't they? And as a matter of fact, could it be likely somebody like Admiral Rogers, could he be testifying? Okay, this would be a good way for some of these witnesses to start coming forward and speak freely, as well as to protect the suspect if the grand jury decides not to bring charges. Okay, remember, there's a lot of lives at stake here. Okay, for us, it's kind of exciting and everything, but there's a lot of people, this is life or death. All right, why are confusing questions asked as to outcome regarding Mueller? Well, I think we can kind of understand this now, but let's just think about this for a second. Okay, so Mueller, Rosenstein, both have been around for a long time and familiar with Uranium One. Both of them are familiar with the investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Okay, what would be the purpose of creating confusion? Well, we already talked about this slow disclosure, this unredacted data. Okay, both sides are taking it slow. Now, the left has continuously been saying, do not fire Mueller, do not fire Mueller. That is our guy. He's going to bring down Trump. They're not letting this go. It's tying things up for them as well while they run around the country and try and get funding. Okay, so on the other side, this is also, could it be that this is also buying Mueller and Rosenstein time to be investigating crimes? Because let's face it, Trump has had the ability to shut this down and hasn't. Jeff Sessions has had the ability to shut this down and hasn't. They've let it go. They're going to let it, like I said earlier before, until the wheels fall off the bus. Because at that point, it is going to take you somewhere. It's going to take you right back to where it started, which was Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele and blah, 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 blah. But the point is that what we're going to end up finding is that the Obama administration spied on the Trump administration, and it's clear as day to all of us. Okay, but it's gonna get shown clear as day eventually, and then it's gonna lead to other things, all this other data being used by other investigators. It's going to allow all these other trials in which we can assemble grand juries for. So I hope that makes sense, and let's take you to the next Q post. Okay, so that brings us now to post 1319. Q says review time, not seeking re-election, and they talk about all the people in the Senate here, Republicans and Democrats. All right, I won't read all the names here. We already did. Okay, and then these are the resignations from the Senate and the House. And then, of course, Q is saying plus the DOJ list, plus the FBI list, plus the CEO list. And incidentally, that list, thank you to one of my viewers, Tammy Inman, who sent me this link to a Google spreadsheet, which is this right here. And this takes you from September 1st, 2017. I believe it takes you all the way current. I don't want to scroll too fast, but you can see this is a massive list, and it's broken down: the date of announcement, date of resignation, the branch, the company name or organization, the country, the position, the name, the reason for, and then the rumors and comments. And the rumors and comments are very interesting, of course. And then there's links. So it's incredible, and it's massive, really, really massive, very comprehensive. So it's hard to look at these kind of things and think, is it a conspiracy? Well, you're welcome to think it is. Lots of people are thinking lots of things right now. People are getting anxious, and people have a lot of good information that they're bringing forward, and it's overwhelming, and it's getting harder and harder to know what to think. So conspiracies are easy to push, and all I can say is just do your best with it. Trust your instinct. If you trust God, but is it a conspiracy? Look, at some point you got to kind of look at this and think, wow, something's going on. And of course Q says nothing happening. Well, you could argue that nothing is happening, maybe because nothing is happening to the person that you would like something to happen to, but I would argue that something is happening. That was one of the worst summations I've ever made, ever. Nothing is happening because something is not happening to... Anyway, you get the idea. Something's happening, all right? And it's happening to all these people. And it's happening to all those people in the DOJ and the FBI and the CEOs. Is it a conspiracy? I don't know. I'm just a knucklehead with a Gmail account. But we persist. Goodlatte and Gowdy, important. They are important. Why? Because one is the chairman of the House Committee on the Judiciary, and he's this guy. And the other is the chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and that's this guy. Look at him, looking all oversighty. Okay? Well, why are these guys important? I want to take you over to Goodlatte.house.gov. This is as of March 29th, 2018. Goodlatte, Gowdy statement on appointment of U.S. Attorney to lead investigation of DOJ actions. We applaud the Attorney General for demonstrating his commitment to this investigation by selecting an individual outside of Washington, D.C. to lead the review. That would be Huber. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte and House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy released this statement following the announcement that Attorney General Jeff Sessions will tap U.S. Attorney General John W. Huber to investigate the actions of the Department of Justice in 2016 and 2017. We are encouraged that Attorney General Sessions has designated U.S. Attorney John W. Huber to investigate the actions of the Department of Justice and FBI in 2016 and 2017. While we continue to believe the appointment of a second special counsel is necessary, this is a step in the right direction. We expect that U.S. Attorney Huber, given his reputation, will conduct an independent and thorough investigation. Such an investigation is critical to restoring the reputation of both the Bureau and DOJ in the eyes of the American people. We applaud the Attorney General for demonstrating his commitment to this investigation by selecting an individual outside of Washington, D.C. to lead the review. We think it is important that Mr. Huber report directly to the Attorney General, since the Attorney General, as the head of the Justice Department, reserves the right to appoint a special counsel in the future, which is what people have asked for. In the meantime, we intend to continue our investigation into the decisions made and not made by DOJ in 2016 and 2017. Okay, so that's what's going on during these little muddy waters, right? Well, here's where it gets interesting. Why is the New York Attorney General resignation important? Well, we all know who that is. That's this guy right here, Eric Schneiderman. Poof. 1 minute, Eric Schneiderman was one of the country's foremost attorneys general, revered as a champion of the Me Too movement and nemesis of President Trump. The next minute, Schneiderman was gone, resigning in a heartbeat after being accused of assaulting women. How does that happen? It happens because people knew. The New Yorker, which spilled the beans on the liberal darling's alleged horrific physical and emotional abuse of women, had, after all, been working on the story for a long time. The 4 women accused their former boyfriend of slapping and choking them had their stories corroborated by their friends and their associates. Michelle Manning Barish, for instance, had shared her horrifying tales of assault with author Salman Rushdie, whom she had once dated. She is a political activist who, according to the New Yorker, was involved with MoveOn.org. Schneiderman, however, denied wrongdoing. In a statement saying that he was resigning at the close of business Tuesday, Schneiderman said, "In the last several hours, serious allegations, which I strongly contest, have been made against me." He added that he was resigning because the allegations will effectively prevent me from leading the office's work at this critical time. Like Manning Barish, some of the Schneiderman's other alleged victims were politically active in New York's progressive circles. They told their stories to their colleagues. People talk, but no one was initially willing to confront the Attorney General, partly out of fear. On more than one occasion, Schneiderman allegedly threatened to kill his victims, tap their phones, or otherwise exact revenge if they went public to accuse him of misconduct. The women said they took such warnings seriously, especially since Schneiderman was the state's top law enforcement official. In one instance, he allegedly declared, "I am the law." More inexcusable is that nobody on the left wanted to take down the hashtag #MeToo advocate because they feared losing an important voice for progressive values, even if that voice was entirely phony. Not only was the Attorney General a strong supporter of women's rights, he was virulently anti-Trump. One of Schneiderman's accusers is described in the New Yorker piece as an accomplished Ivy League educated lawyer with government experience who had worked closely with his office in the past and supported him politically. Excuse me. Asked why she did not press charges after Schneiderman allegedly hit her so hard he left a red well on her face. She said, "I thought he's a good attorney general. He's doing good things. I didn't want to jeopardize that." You wonder, did anyone at the National Institute for Reproductive Health, which recently honored Schneiderman for his work on behalf of women, hear any rumblings? Did anyone in the audience squirm when he accepted their award and said, if a woman cannot control her body, she is not truly equal? Did Samantha Bee know when last fall her TV show called Schneiderman a hero who stood up for democracy because of his attacks on President Trump? My guess is that dozens of well-connected politicos in New York were nervously awaiting the day when this story might break. When it finally did, the calls for Schneiderman to step down were instantaneous, including from political teammates in New York like Governor Andrew Cuomo and U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Revelations that film producer Harvey Weinstein alleged misdeeds were broadly known in Hollywood have cast an unfavorable shadow on the film industry. Similarly, Democrats may face accusations that they were aware of Schneiderman's alleged misconduct, but did nothing to stop him. Not since client number 9, also known as former Attorney General and later Governor Eliot Spitzer, aggressively pursued prostitution in New York, all the while keeping a prominent house of prostitution speed dial, has a law enforcement official allegedly acted with such brazen hypocrisy. Schneiderman's embrace of the women's movement has been full-throated. His office is suing Harvey Weinstein for sexual misconduct. Schneiderman said in connection with that suit, "We have never seen anything as despicable as what we've seen right here. Not until now, if the claims about Schneiderman's conduct are true." The women accusing Schneiderman of beating and choking them suggest an oft-repeated pattern of behavior. In such cases, it will not be surprising if others step forward. Initially, only a handful of women were willing to confront Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein. Soon the number swelled. It isn't easy to take on a public figure like TV morning show host Charlie Rose or Matt Lauer, especially if your career is at stake, especially if you are frightened. While he denied abusing women, Schneiderman said in a statement, "In the privacy of intimate relationships, I have engaged in role-playing and other consensual sexual activity. I have not assaulted anyone. I have never engaged in non-consensual sex, which is a line I would not cross." This sounds like Schneiderman was channeling another famously aggressive attorney general, the fictional Chuck Rhoades in Billions, who with his wife gets into some pretty kinky sadomasochistic sex. The difference someone should tell Schneiderman is that Rhoades, who ends up burned and battered, not his wife, Wendy. The astonishing aspect of this case is Schneiderman's apparent ability to separate his public and private lives. Earlier, as a New York State Senator, chairing a committee investigating domestic violence charges against Democratic State Senator Hiram Montserrat, he introduced a bill that laid out criminal penalties for strangulation. The bill, which became a law, made life-threatening choking a serious crime, punishable by up to a year in prison. Did Schneiderman not ever imagine, as he allegedly used his own body weight to cut off his partner's breathing, that he might be charged under his very own bill? It is hard to fathom the depravity and also the hubris of a man who received accolades for standing up for women while at the same time allegedly knocking them around. It is tempting to ascribe his alleged behavior in part to the arrogance and moral superiority that enlivens members of the progressive left these days as they take on President Trump and his supporters. Schneiderman boosted his standing and his political prospects by carrying on a long-running feud with President Trump and more recently suing the Trump administration on numerous occasions. In 2013, President Trump tweeted that former U.S. Rep. Anthony Weiner is gone. Spitzer is gone. Next will be lightweight AG Eric Schneiderman. Is he a crook? Wait and see. Worse than Spitzer or Weiner. Once again, Trump wins. Okay, I know it's a long article, but I think it's important to know that this is an important spot. New York, it's a big deal. And this guy was wrapped up in some shady stuff. Shady sexual stuff. What past/current high-profile FBI investigations are within the jurisdiction of New York? Well, I can think of a couple. I can think of the insurance files, right? The ones that Rudy Giuliani's got. The ones that made the NYPD sick. The ones that I don't know if we're ever going to see them. I don't know what's going to happen with them. But that's what I can think of. That sounds pretty quote-unquote high-profile. What about the NXIVM investigation? What happened there? That's right. There was a roadblock in that investigation. And who was that roadblock? It was Eric Schneiderman. He blocked that investigation. You have more than you know. Okay, so we know this NXIVM thing's going to blow up to be so big because it's not only going to kill Hollywood, but it's also going to expose all of these people, and it's got to lead to Clinton somehow because Clinton is so wrapped up with NXIVM. Okay, so at some point, all this is going to explode. And remember, if you're following the Q narrative, that we have an ETA in June, okay, for Seth Rich, which makes sense with all this, okay? Do not fall victim to MSM/other fake false narrative pushes. Stay the course. Where we go one, we go all Q. Okay, well, look, I don't want to touch on this way much on this video. I'd maybe make another video for something like this, but we know there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk about Q. You do what you want. You want to follow this, you can. You're welcome. Everyone's welcome. Don't care who you are, all right? If you're just here to disparage, all I can say is that you're not encouraging anything. You're not helping anything. Okay, so if you're around telling everybody that all is lost and this and that, it doesn't really matter what video you're posting on. You're not doing anybody any good. Okay, well, we all know not to fall victim to the MSM, or at least most of us do. Other fake false/narrative pushes, well, it gets harder and harder. You guys are welcome not to trust me. It's all good. Trust who you want. Trust yourself. Moving on. Okay, before I go on to the next post, there was, when I woke up this morning, there was a post, and it just said, hey, and then it was gone. And I didn't have any time to look into it as I was leaving. And when I came back, it was gone, and I only saw it briefly anyway. And I believe it was around 6:44. I think it was 6:44, and this post came then in 13:20, came here at 6:44. And so I never saw it again, and it was also on the Patriots fight board. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but I just want to let you know there was just a post, and it just said, hey, and then it was gone. Okay. This post here that did come in the same minute. Today, evil lost control, leverage of Iran. Today, POTUS took control of Iran. Today, with pending sanctions and military actions, POTUS will gain more ammunition/intel against them. Okay, well, we know. Trump canned the deal, which we weren't really surprised about, right? And hours later, what did we get here? Let me take you over to Yahoo News. Syria hit by new strikes as Trump cancels Iran deal and Israel calls high alert. Suspected Iranian military positions were hit by new strikes Tuesday, shortly after Israel ordered citizens to take shelter, and President Donald Trump announced he would withdraw from a nuclear deal with Iran. The official Syrian Arab news agency reported that Israeli jets struck Al-Qiswa, located near 8 miles south of Damascus, claiming Syrian air defenses downed 2 incoming missiles. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman held security meetings with the heads of defense at Kiryat military headquarters in Tel Aviv, according to the Jerusalem Post, just hours after the Israeli military instructed citizens in the occupied Golan Heights to unlock and ready bomb shelters, due to what it said was irregular movement by Iranian forces in Syria. Israel accuses Iran of undermining its national security by supporting majority Shiite Muslim militias fighting on behalf of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and has occasionally launched airstrikes against these groups and their allies. Okay, so didn't take long, did it, folks? And there's a lot of opinions regarding this topic. And I'm not going to fully address it now. I actually wanted to do a separate video doing that, talking about it a little bit. But regardless of how you feel, I think we all knew this was coming. Okay. And it looks to me, according to at least according to the Q narrative, Q saying, of course, evil lost control, leverage of Iran. But when it's the interesting thing to me, it says POTUS took control of Iran. Well, POTUS didn't strike Iran. POTUS canned the deal. Okay, the deal is going to make the sanctions go back on Iran. And then, of course, Israel attacked, which is what we knew was going to happen. We knew he wanted that. He was foaming at the mouth about that. Okay, he had his binders and he had his Leonard Skinner CDs for proof, and he was ready to go. Well, that's what happened. And regardless of how you feel about that, that's how it happened. Now, let's hope this is exactly deep state target. And Q seems to allude to that, saying that today, with pending sanctions and military actions, POTUS will gain more ammunition intel against them, not against Iran, against them. And I think that's why Q is stressing them. Okay, and let's hope so. Now, I know there's a lot of opinions about Q lately, about their intentions, and I know what they are. And like I said, I'll address them at some point. But I think we all know what they are, and I just think we need to keep it cool with each other and just kind of keep watching and do what we can when we can. Enough said. Suicide watch. Well, I don't like talking about this kind of stuff, but who knows who it could be with all these different resignations and things like that. Who knows? And if we do get grand juries and indictments and things like that, more is going to come. But we know who's sick. Okay, we know No Name is sick, and he's definitely wrapped up in all this, isn't he? And he seems to know his days are numbered because he's already talking about funeral plans and arrangements and things like that. So there's one. Then, of course, we had Barbara Bush a few weeks ago, or actually just a couple weeks ago, I guess. I don't even know anymore. It was probably last week. It's probably 3 days ago. All right. And then, of course, George Sr., George Bush, and he's getting senile. Wow, how about that? Can't seem to remember anything. Wonder what he's forgetting. I wonder what he forgot. Anyway, and then of course we've got Hillary Clinton. And we'll talk about her in a second. But the goal was to keep POTUS until impeachment. Okay, so if they figured, I guess that was the plan. And if they couldn't win, then we'll just keep them in until we find something. And we're going to run this, bogus investigation until we find something. And we got to be able to find something on this guy, right? After all, he's a billionaire and he slept with porn stars. We got to find something, right? Or until the term ends. So maybe they were planning to take it over. Maybe Hillary wanted to run again. Bigger than people can imagine. Treason is 1/10. Yeah, this was very, very big, folks. This was. If all this is true, and I think we, for the most part, we're kind of buying into this, right? That this was a nuclear hub right here, and this was going to go off anywhere, and probably multiple places. Remember, sum of all fears. This was, Russia versus the USA, and if they could, maybe they'd get North Korea in there. Maybe that would involve China. All the big world powers. Well, why would they want to do that? Well, ask yourself, why are they panicking? They know they're panicking because they were calling them on it. We're figuring it out. Ask yourself, why is the UK, France, and Germany so involved? Numbers of reasons. But the EU in general, but particularly I think that area was not going to get hit. You see what I'm saying? This was going to be Russia versus the USA and maybe China. Like I said, this was going to get all the other superpowers out of the way. Okay, and this was going to leave them free to do their thing. Okay, and now the white helmets aren't getting any money. And now the Iran deal is not getting any money. And as soon as that happened, I think this is kind of a separate thing with Israel. But okay, that's happening immediately too. It's all coming to a head. It's all going to start boiling now. Okay. Trips to the White House. Well, who made them? France and Germany in particular. And if you've been following my videos, you know they have a particular investment in all that green technology and all that stuff. They've got so much business and so much trade going on there. This is going to absolutely throttle them. All right. Trips to the White House. Macron, Merkel, didn't happen. They got sent home packing. No thank you. What are they hiding? They're hiding 9/10 of treason, probably. I don't know. They're hiding a ton of things, aren't they? They're hiding so much. What are they hiding? We all want to know. We're ready to see it. Why is Hillary Rodham Clinton in New Zealand? Not for the barbecue. Not for the barbecue. No, she's not. She just did an interview. Hillary Clinton announces her intentions regarding a future presidential run. Former Secretary of State and presidential candidate Hillary Clinton has announced her intentions for future presidential runs. There won't be any. Whew, dodged a bullet. What did she say? During an interview with New Zealand journalist Hilary Barry, Clinton announced that she will never again run for president. In the TVNC's news video, which was posted on YouTube on Tuesday, Barry asked Clinton, who was featured to promote her 2017 book, what happened on the 2020 presidential election. As we look ahead to the next election, would you run again? Barry asked Clinton. Clinton answered that she would not be running again, but had some plans for the 2018 midterm elections. No, Clinton revealed, but I am going to be very active in this coming election in 2018 because that will be the turning point. Barry responded by telling Clinton that she hopes there will be another female politician running for president, a sentiment that Clinton endorsed. What would you say to her? Barry asked. Clinton's response, read my book. Awesome. So, young ladies, if you're out there and you think you would like to be leader of the free world, my biggest suggestion to you is to read Hillary Clinton's book. Well, Hillary Clinton's been out about town trying to see New Zealand, looking fit as a fiddle. Hey, is that a pack of smokes on the back of your... What is that thing, Hillary? Is that a back brace? Is that a back brace? Social media users are convinced that Hillary Clinton is sporting a back brace after she was spotted out in New York last week with a strange protrusion coming from under her jacket. That is a strange protrusion. What's going on there? Is that a back brace? Maybe it's an iPad. Who knows? Well, why is Hillary Clinton in New Zealand? Is New Zealand part of Five Eyes? We know that. It is. Why is that relevant? Because that was intel. So is she out there getting intel? Suicide watch? Is she next? I don't know. Look, I don't want to wish I don't wish death on anyone. I know it's a weird thing and whatever, but it's just something I don't really like to talk about. But who knows? But she's out there in New Zealand. You got all those rich people bunkers out there, out there in the middle of New Zealand. What's going on? Maybe she's going to be in Lord of the Rings, and maybe that's her little thing that she wears for, I don't know. Okay, we're moving on. So these last few posts here have to do with the Q updates the trip code again. And there you go, trip confirmed. And then Q says here, and I guess talking about this post earlier, we made a mistake on Q research exposing the password. We did not input Q in the beginning, which exposed the password. Error corrected. Save Q. Okay, well, whatever. Say what you want. I know a lot of people are kind of freaking out about Q, and there are people that, that trust the plan, and there are people that don't. And I think there's a lot of people that are in between. I think it doesn't matter how you feel, but Q is human. And, so whatever. And so that would explain it. But the thing that I would say, and I'm not a Q apologist, but it showed up on this board, Patriots Fight. It did show up on this board. It's not here anymore, but it was there. And this is Q's board. So unless somebody broke in and just said, hey, but it seems to me that it was just a simple mistake, an error corrected, blah, blah, blah. And then Q follows up 53 minutes past the hour of 6 p.m. Post 1324 says corrected. We all make mistakes. Busy day. Q. Well, at least I can identify, maybe because I had such a busy day too. And those are your Q posts, folks. Sorry, that was the best I could do for you. I've been working absolutely overtime on set, and that should hopefully be finished up in the next couple days, and I can get my head back, and maybe Q knows how I feel. But anyway, so look, think what you want about this trip code stuff and whatever, and I know what happened as far as I know there's been a lot of talk about a certain media channel that was talking about trip codes and things like that, and you guys think what you want. There's enough opinions out there. I'm not interested in flooding it anymore. This is already difficult, and we deal with a lot of difficult subjects when we talk about these issues, and I know there's a lot of different feelings about Q. I know there's a lot of different feelings about a lot of things, and I know it because I see the comments, and I know how you guys feel. And sometimes just because I don't go way into it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in it. It just means that I'm trying to kind of deliver this message at least the best that I can. Remember, guys, I'm just an actor, and this was just something that felt important to me, and I hope this helps you. So that being said, blah, blah, blah. Those are your Q posts, and if anything else pops up, I will be on it in the next couple of days, hopefully back to my normal self. But that's all we got for now. If you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. And when YouTube unsubscribes you, please be a dear and subscribe again. And then if you don't hear from me, just realize that you've been unsubscribed, and that's how you'll know, because you won't hear from me, because otherwise I'll be in your ear all damn day. I'm Sir Patrick Mack, and I love you. Until next time, stay interested in all this. It's interesting stuff.